Everything you think you know about Atlantis traces back to exactly two ancient texts, both written by one man. No lost inscription, no independent record, just Plato, two dialogues, and a story very different from what centuries of myth would have you believe. To understand Atlantis, we must separate the story into three distinct categories: Plato's original text, later historical interpretation, and modern speculation. In the first category, Plato's actual writings, the legend exists solely within the pages of two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, composed around 360 BCE. No surviving Egyptian hieroglyph, no other classical Greek historian, and no physical ruin confirms this island's existence. In historical investigation, literary attestation differs from physical verification. By examining what Plato actually penned, we strip away the layers of subsequent myth to see his words in their original context. Within this first category of Plato's text, the dialogue establishes authority through a specific lineage of hearsay. The speaker, Critias, claims the history originated in the Egyptian city of Sais, where priests recited it to the Athenian lawmaker Solon. According to the text, Solon passed the tale to his relative Dropides, whose descendants preserved it across generations until it reached Critias himself. This internal pedigree serves as a literary device to build credibility within the narrative, but it remains an unverified claim confined entirely to the pages of the dialogue, with no supporting evidence from the ancient world. In Plato's original text, Atlantis is defined not as a futuristic utopia, but as a Bronze Age naval power. The dialogues locate this empire in the Atlantic Ocean, positioned just beyond the Pillars of Heracles, the ancient name for the Strait of Gibraltar. From this base, the dynasty ruled over its own massive island, neighboring islands, and parts of Libya and Europe. Plato describes a formidable maritime force launching a massive naval campaign to conquer the Mediterranean world. Notably, his Greek text contains no lasers, alien technology, or advanced machinery. It describes a conventional, ancient empire. Within this first category of Plato's text, the narrative serves a clear, philosophical purpose rather than offering a neutral historical chronicle. The author constructs a stark conflict between two opposing political models. On one side stands Atlantis, a wealthy expansionist power driven by material luxury and aggressive ambition. Opposing it is an idealized prehistoric Athens, characterized by disciplined civic virtue, self-restraint, and structured order. When the massive Atlantean forces attempt to conquer the Mediterranean, this modest Athenian state resists and defeats the invader, staging a battle where disciplined civic virtue triumphs over moral decline and imperial ambition. In Plato's text, the war ends abruptly with a sudden, devastating cataclysm. Violent earthquakes and torrential floods strike the region, swallowing the opposing armies. Within a single day and night, the entire island of Atlantis sinks into the depths of the ocean, while prehistoric Athens is simultaneously destroyed. But this dramatic climax serves a literary purpose rather than documenting a real geological event. Plato writes that the sunken empire left behind only a shallow, muddy shoal, making the waters impassable. This detail conveniently explains why no physical evidence of the sunken civilization remained for future generations to discover. In this first category of Plato's text, The narrative provides remarkably precise dimensions that complicate its historical reliability. The priest dates the war to 9,000 years before Ceylon, placing the conflict far earlier than any known Bronze Age state. The text also claims Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia combined under ancient Greek geographic terms. Plato describes a vast central plain, concentric rings of water, canals, palaces, temples, armies, and fleets. While some interpreters suggest copyist errors or Egyptian number system distortions to reduce these vast scales, the surviving Greek manuscripts offer no definitive resolution, leaving the figures exactly as written. In the first category, Plato's original text, the narrative of Atlantis is physically incomplete. The dialogue. Critias ends abruptly in mid-sentence just as Zeus gathers the gods to pronounce judgment. Ancient commentators like Proclus note that Plato planned a larger sequence involving Timaeus, Critias, and a third dialogue, Hermocrates. Because the author abandoned the project, the surviving manuscript lacks the final battle and the details of the cataclysm. This structural vacancy prevents any analysis from treating the work as a completed historical record. In 1882, Ignatius Donnelly published a bestseller that recast the story, moving it from Plato's text into the category of later interpretation by claiming the island was the parent of all ancient civilizations. This soon merged with modern speculation. Occultist Helena Blavatsky and psychic Edgar Cayce added spiritual dimensions, introducing ideas of an advanced super-civilization. By the 20th century, this speculative category turned to physical geography, proposing locations from the Azores and Spain to the Caribbean and Antarctica. While the volcanic eruption of Santorini offers a potential Bronze Age inspiration, it remains a hypothesis, not historical proof. The physical existence of Atlantis remains entirely unverified. Today, chasing a physical empire ignores Plato's warning about hubris. We prefer the comfort of ancient myths over the fragile reality of our own civilization. Share your thoughts below.